Imagine this. You've worked hard on your GPA, nailed your test scores, polished your essays, and you still get rejected. The truth is, even strong applicants will fall into traps that sink their applications instantly. In this video, I'll share the 7 biggest mistakes I see and how to avoid them so that you don't waste months of effort. If you're new here, I'm Caitlin, an Oxford MBA and admissions consultant who's helped hundreds of students win interviews and offers to all the top business schools in the world. For each of the 7 mistakes that we're about to go through, I'm going to tell you 3 things. First of all, about what your expectation usually is as the applicant, the mistake itself, and the fix for each. Mistake number 1 is treating your resume like it's for a job application. Okay, so your expectation is normally that you should be listing job duties on your resume. It's a mistake because the admissions committees are looking to find impact and leadership through quantifiable results. They're not looking for job descriptions. So the fix is to save the words for your essays and quantify everything you put on your resume. So my practice with my students is to have at least 1 number for every single one of their bullet points. And I try to get 2 or 3 numbers if I can in each bullet point. So you can make it a game and try to find out how compact and concise you can make each bullet point. The other point about your resume is that you want it to connect you to your long-term goal. So whatever experiences you choose to add under your education, for example, student clubs that you were a part of, or competitions, or coursework, it should feed in and reinforce what you want to do in the long term. Mistake number 2 is a weak career story. So your expectation is that you can say something usually like, I just want an MBA so that I can advance my career. The reason that that's a mistake is because it's too vague and disconnected. So the fix that I use with my students is what I call the narrative formula, where I help them very clearly identify how they can use the 4 components of the narrative to tell a very strong career story. So these 4 components are the short-term goal, the long-term goal, your personal attachment to your goals, and evidence from your background that in some way you've always been working towards these goals. So if you want more information about the narrative, then you can watch the video that I've linked to up here. Mistake number 3 is playing it safe in essays. Now, the expectation that most applicants have is that you need to sound professional, full stop. This becomes a mistake because that will lead your essays to become bland and forgettable. So the fix is to use personal stories. Show courage through vulnerability. I am constantly working with my students to bring out the emotion that's there and put it into the essay in a strategic way. The reason is because these are human beings that are reviewing your applications, and they want to feel something when they read your story. If they don't, then you'll appear to be a boring individual. And I'm telling you, every single one of the hundreds of students that I've worked with has something very unique and interesting about them. It's just identifying it and then using it strategically and being courageous enough to be willing to use it. Showing weaknesses or talking about a challenge that you overcame allows the admissions committees to see the person behind the application. And of course, when you do talk about a challenge, for example, you want to spend the least amount of time describing the challenge itself and the most amount of time talking about the journey that you went through to overcome that challenge and become the strong, resilient person that you are today. For example, in my Oxford essay, I talked about my lifelong fear of math and how I eventually overcame it to rank first in my class in Calculus 1. Mistake number 4 is ignoring program-specific fit. So many of you will have the expectation that all MBA programs are the same, or all Master Finance programs are the same, or all Master Science and Business Analytics programs are the same. And the mistake is that you will show zero school and program specific engagement. Now, admissions committees want to see that you prefer them over all of their competitors. So that's why it's a mistake. So the fix is to do your research. So you should learn everything you can about the curriculum of that program, what core classes you have to take, what electives would you like to take, do they have concentrations or certificates? You should know about the faculty and find specific members that align very well with your background and career interests. And you should be able to identify at least 2 or 3 student clubs that are relevant to you that you would like to join when you're there. Now, this will help you to build what I call the affinity score. And I'm linking to a recent video that I made about it, so you can check that out. If this is helping, then don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss my upcoming videos on admissions topics. Mistake number 5 is over-relying on test scores. So many of you have the expectation that your high 750, 760, 770 GMAT score will carry you. Now, the reason that that's a mistake is because admissions committees will reject plenty of high scorers. I remember years ago, I had a student applying to LSE's MSc Accounting and Finance, which has a very low acceptance rate, and he got admitted. He told me later that his friend had also applied to that same program, and his friend had a higher GPA, and his friend had taken the GMAT and achieved a 750 score, but he did not get in. So the fix is to balance quantitative skills with impact, leadership, and soft skills. Because yes, admissions committees need to know that you have a certain level of technical ability so that you can handle the coursework. But a high GPA can say that, a high GMAT score could say it, great work experience could say it. Once you get one of those pieces of evidence that you can handle their coursework, it now becomes about whether you are a likable person. Will people enjoy interacting with you and having you as a classmate? So if you don't make that case because you come across as arrogant or insecure or disengaged, then they'll pass on your application. Mistake number 6 is weak recommendations. Now, many of you will expect that all you need to do is have your boss say something nice about you. That's a mistake, because those letters will come out being very generic. They'll use words like hardworking and team player. And that is not what the admissions committees are looking for. They want to hear from someone who knows you and your work very well, and they want to hear that that person thinks that you are special. Your recommendation letters can't sound like they could have been written by anyone. So the fix is you want to tell your recommender to use specific stories of impact. You want them to be writing in the first person and using the words I and me. For example, I would want my recommender to say something like, I saw Caitlin take ownership of Project A. She impressed me with how seamlessly she brought everyone together. Because of her, our client gave us an outstanding review and brought us a follow-on project. That client even requested Caitlin lead that project. I have never seen an associate lead the way Caitlin does. Mistake number 7 is failing the interviews. Now, many of you will expect I'll just be myself, and that's a mistake because it leads you to not prepare for the human and the non-human interviews like the career talent assessment. Admissions committees use these interviews to get a sense for how you're going to show up for your future job interviews after you graduate from the program. And so if you stumble, then it's gonna look like you're gonna do the same thing when you need to interview for a hiring company. And that means you may struggle to get a job after you graduate. So the fix is to prepare. You wanna use frameworks like the one I called STARL. You want to practice your video presence and anticipate pitfalls. Now, I make many videos about the career talent interview, so you should definitely check those out before you complete your interview. So there you have it, the 7 mistakes I see even the strongest applicants making. The good news is that every single one of these has a solution. If you start working on them now, you'll already be ahead of most applicants. And if you want to check your profile against the exact criteria that the admissions committees use, then you can grab my free program fit checklist. The link is in the description.